What is up, my telemetry babes? So welcome back to Basic EKG episode 3 with your girl Angel. So today we'll be learning about PACs, which stands for premature atrial contractions. So PACs come from the atria, and they are premature beats that disrupt your normal rhythm. So PACs are super common, and they can happen whether you're healthy, unhealthy, old, or young. Most people will experience PACs.
Now hold on. I'm not gonna say that. Hold on.
Okay, so I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I've heard this before, and you totally have if you watched the last episode about PVCs, because PACs are kind of like PVC's little cousin, and they're actually even more common than PVCs. So take a look at these examples I provided for you, and then we'll get into the good stuff. Telemetry monitor tech, PACs really are not that alarming unless 1. the patient has a history of heart issues, 2. the PACs start to become more frequent, and 3. the PACs start to form a pattern. That's when you need to alert the nurse. Okay, so now that you've seen plenty of examples of PACs and you know the definitions of PACs, I just want to show you like a live diagram of the heart of your upper chambers, which would be called the atriums or the atria, which one you want to call them. But if you can read, here is right, left atrium. Just want to show you guys that. All right, so when it comes to PACs, so you know it stands for premature atrial contraction. It's just a premature beat that falls before the next expected beat. So you see how in this rhythm, it just comes early. A premature beat is not a rhythm. It's just, that's what it is, a premature beat. You have to find the underlying rhythm before you can say like, oh, it's a PAC. So you see that this rhythm, it's pretty regular. I'm gonna just whip out my calibers and just show you that it's regular. So, I mean, me just looking at it, I don't even have to measure it. I can tell that this is sinus rhythm, and that's a premature beat because it just goes right back to its regular sinus rhythm. Sometimes people can confuse sinus arrhythmia when they see, premature beats, because they're starting to say, they're like, oh, this looks irregular. That's why you have to find the underlying rhythm before you can say like it's sinus arrhythmia or AFib or something like that. Okay, so PACs can look different. A lot of times when I'm watching the monitors, I see a lot of PACs that look like this, where the P wave goes into the T wave. So you don't actually see it. You just see this premature beat and you're like, okay. Another hallmark that you're looking for when you're trying to identify a PAC is the QRS. So the QRS will never differ from the underlying rhythm. So as you see this one, you see how the QRS looks exactly the same as the underlying rhythm, as in the measurement will be the same. It will not differ because it's not a ventricular contraction. It's an atrial contraction. So you're only looking at the P wave because the P wave will be different. And if it goes into the T, it will make the T wave different. So that is one thing you have to remember. So the very last hallmark that you need to remember when identifying a PAC is that the P wave, if it's not in a T wave, will always be upright. Okay, if it's upside down or if it just isn't right, if it's not upright, it's not a PAC. So that is the last hallmark that you need to remember. My telemetry babes, so let's recap when PACs start to become alarming. 1, when the patient has a history of heart issues. So if the patient has a history of AFib and you start to see PACs, you might want to tell the nurse. 2, when the PACs start to become more frequent. So when they become more frequent, it can look like this rhythm, which is known as SVT, and it can also turn into more lethal rhythms, which could lead to death. And 3, when the PACs form a pattern. So PACs can form a pattern like atrial bigeminy when it's after every regular beat. It can also turn into another pattern like atrial trigeminy, as you see in this example, and it can even turn into atrial quadgeminy. those are signs where you definitely need to tell the nurse. So let's just review over the hallmarks and then we can get into the quiz.